So let's talk about how to look your best when you're on camera for your meetings or for your presentations online. It's really important that you look confident, because that will make you feel confident, and also that you can communicate in the best way possible for your audience to understand. So the absolute number one thing that I can tell you that will bring up the quality of your body language on camera is to stand up. To stand up in front of the camera. If it's a really important presentation or meeting, then stand up. This is going to make you look much more dynamic. It's going to make you feel more energetic. It's going to make your voice come out stronger and clearer. Your hands are going to move more. Our hands move more when we're standing up. They don't move so much when we're sitting down. It has a huge impact on how good you look when you're on camera. Now, I know that not all meetings, it's not necessary to be standing up for all your meetings. I think our legs would be killing us at the end of the day with the amount of meetings that we have. But for the important ones, definitely do stand up. And that means that you need to organize your equipment so that your camera is going to be at eye level. If you're using a laptop, that means you need to get some boxes or some shelves and place it up there, because the camera should be at eye level or just a little bit above. Obviously the camera should not be looking at you from below, which is what 99% of people are doing when they're on laptops doing teleconferences, and then you see the double chin and you see the roof above their head. Really bad camera angle. The camera angle needs to be at eye level or just a little bit above. Now, the next thing about this camera angle is the framing. So you should be framing yourself from your sternum, from about here up, without too much space above your head. But it's very important that you're not framing yourself like this, with your face really close to the camera, because that's overwhelming for the audience. And also you're going to be reading your notes and you're going to be looking down at your screen, and then it gets really, really distracting for your audience when they can see you that close up and your eyes are moving around. So this is the framing for the camera. Okay, what's the next most important thing? So after standing up and framing your camera correctly, the next most important thing is audio. Is having a good microphone. Audio is far more important than video, than the visuals. So before you invest in a really fancy camera, get yourself a good microphone. Now, let me tell you why. Let me give you an example. Imagine that there are two videos uploaded to YouTube. It's the same video file. However, one person uploads it in perfect video quality, 4K video, but something has happened to the sound. It's not very good sound. Another person has uploaded the same video, but they've uploaded it in a much poorer format, 720p, but the sound is perfect. Which of those two videos would we end up watching? We'd end up watching the one with the good sound, because we're so sensitive to sound. So you got to think about it from your audience's perspective when you're in your meetings. If you don't sound good, it's very hard for them to listen to you. So get yourself a microphone. For 50 or 60 euros, a USB microphone will be more than enough quality for online meetings. I mean, I've got a good microphone because I make videos, and this cost a few €100, but for like 50 or 60 euros, you can get yourself a really good microphone. If you don't have a microphone, be very careful about using the microphones on your laptop or your computer, because they're usually not very good. Now, the recent models of the high-end laptops, the Mac laptops, for example, in the last year or two, the microphones have improved dramatically, and they're good enough if you're in a quiet room. However, if you have a cheaper model or you have an older model, then really don't use the microphones on your laptop, because they're really bad. Also, be careful about using Bluetooth earphones. I mean, the little AirPods, even the Apple AirPods, I find not great quality for microphones for speaking online. So what would be better would be, what is actually much better when we're talking about microphones, are the old versions of the old wired versions versions of the earphones that you used to get with your mobile phones, because the microphone was down here on the cable, and they're actually quite good quality. So use them over Bluetooth ones. And of course, the other problem with Bluetooth earphones is that they might die on you in the middle of your meeting. If you notice, I'm wearing these earphones, which are, I hope these are clean. You can't see any earwax on them. These earphones are invisible earphones. They're not that expensive. They're like, I think they're about €25 on Amazon. The great thing is they have a cable, so they're always connected. They never die. And as you're looking at me, I mean, I can, if you were speaking to me, I could hear you perfectly, but you don't even see that I'm wearing earphones. Do wear earphones if you're going to be speaking to people online, because again, the older laptops or the cheaper ones, the microphones don't cancel out the sound of someone speaking. You've all experienced this. So you get feedback on the microphone. It's just really, really bad. So in general, go for earphones when you're having your online meetings. Okay, so we've talked about camera and framing. We've talked about the microphone. Now let's talk about lighting. So get yourself well lit. You got to think of this like a movie director would think of shooting a scene, you know. So if it's during the day, and you try to sit in front of a window, because natural light is actually the best light. It makes you look the most beautiful, natural sunlight. But if it's an evening time, or if you don't have access to a window, then what you can do is, if you don't have any, I have studio lights here. I have camera lights, but I also have a desk lamp on my desk. I don't have it switched on now because I have the other lights. But if you just have a desk lamp, take the desk lamp and turn it towards your face and shine the light on your face. Now, it's going to feel weird for you, because as you're speaking to camera, there's going to be this bright light shining in your face, but it's weird for you, but it's not weird for your audience. They don't know that light is shining in your face, and all they see is a very well-lit person speaking. So get your lighting set up. The next thing is using your hands when you're speaking. So just like we've talked about in other videos, the importance of using gesture when you're speaking face-to-face, it's the same when you're speaking online. And again, going back to this reason of framing ourselves from here up means that our hands are going to come into view as we're speaking. And our hands are really important for emphasizing, for spatial reasoning, like for kind of locating ideas in space. First, I'm going to speak about this, and now I'm going to speak about this. This helps our audience understand. It helps us think as we're speaking too. So do use your hands. Don't tie them up when you're speaking. Tie them up means putting them in your pockets, or putting them behind your back, or if you're sitting down, putting them under the desk. Get your hands moving as you're speaking, even when it's online. Okay, the next thing is eye contact. So as you can see here, I'm making this video. I'm looking directly into the camera. Even when I'm doing this live to a group who are watching me, I do try to look into the camera as much as possible. Even though it's weird. It's weird to look directly into a camera. Even more weird when there's other people on the screen. And you see, the thing is, we want to make them think that we're looking at them. So in order to do that, we're going to look into the camera. Whereas really, we're not looking at them. If we were really looking at them, we'd be looking down on the screen to see them on the screen. So it's kind of like a cheat. We're cheating it. But it's why do we do it? To connect with the audience, to communicate in the best way possible. So if the audience are looking at you on their screens and they see that you're looking at them, then they feel that connection, even though it's online. So try to look into the camera as much as possible. Now, if you're having a meeting, or even if you're making a presentation, it's not necessary to be looking at the camera all the time, because you might want to look at your slides, you might want to read your notes, you might want to check out the audience if they've got their cameras on and make sure that they're listening and they're awake, or someone's asking you a question, maybe you want to see them as they ask the question. So sometimes you're gonna look at your screen. But there are two moments when you definitely want to look at the camera in an online meeting. That's right at the very beginning, when you're greeting people, when you're saying hello to them, maybe if you're making a presentation, when you're doing your opening. And then at the end, when you're making your conclusions, when you're giving your call to action, when you're asking them to do something, when they're asking questions, or when you're answering their questions, look directly into the camera, because they're the most important parts of an interaction in a meeting or a presentation, is the opening, the closing, and the interaction, the questions. The other thing you can do to kind of help you give the impression that you're making eye contact is to move the window that you're going to be looking at, the window on your screen. So if you're going to be looking at them, move the Microsoft Teams meeting or the Zoom window just up under the camera on the screen. If you're going to be looking at notes, if you're going to be looking at PowerPoint, try to move that information that's on the screen directly below the webcam. And if you're standing at this kind of distance, standing or sitting, later we'll speak about sitting, but if you're at this kind of distance from your screen, when you do look down, it's like I'm looking down now at my screen, it's not going to be so noticeable to the audience. They're still going to feel that you're kind of looking at them, okay? But what you don't want to do is to have whatever information you need to read way down at the bottom, and it even kind of makes your chin go down and your face go down, okay? Try to keep it as close to the camera as possible. Next, what about when we're listening? Because we're not just talking all the time when we're in our meetings. We're also going to be listening to people. And one of the big mistakes people make when they're listening to others speak and it's online is they forget to do what we do naturally when we're face to face. And what is that? We go, we nod our head to show that we understand and that we're following the person speaking to us. When we're alone at home doing it online, we forget to give these signals that we're understanding the other person. And this is really, really important. So remind yourself that when someone is speaking to you, nod your head and make little sounds, to let them know, to let them know that the image hasn't frozen on the screen, that there's still a connection there. Because sometimes, has it ever happened, you're speaking to someone and the image is frozen and you're speaking for a few minutes and then you go, hello, are you there? And there's no one there. So you just need to remind them that you're there and that you're following it and there hasn't been a cut in the connection. The next thing is voice. So we talked about microphone, and the microphone is going to help you a lot to sound good. But people think that when there's a microphone or when they're in an online meeting, that they should speak at the same level that they speak when they're just talking to one person in the room, because they're alone in their room and they speak at a level that they think is adequate to being alone in a room in front of a microphone. That's not the volume or the rhythm or the energy that you should have in your voice when you're speaking online. Right now, I'm using my speaking voice. Now, if I'm just going to show you what my ordinary conversation voice would be if someone was right beside me. So I would be speaking like this, and you can see that the energies come down, and this would be how I would speak if there was someone in the room in front of me. But I need to use my speaking voice, my presentations voice. I need to imagine that even though I'm alone in my room, that there is people in the room with me, like a group of people. I need to project my voice through the microphone, through the back of the camera. Why? Because just like a camera, they say cameras add 20 pounds, so I look heavier than I actually am in real life. Microphones take off about 20% of your voice. They cut off the high register and the low register. They kind of deaden our voices, even the good microphones. Even more so if you're a woman, unfortunately, because there's been studies done into this. Generally it's been men that have designed microphones, and men design microphones for male voices. So women have it even worse with microphones because they cut off those nice registers of their voice. So we need to speak up in like a radio voice, a louder, more dynamic voice than we think we need when we're alone in the room. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to speak about is how to sit. Now, I highly recommend that if it's an important meeting, interview, negotiation, meeting with a client, just stand up for it. it's going to make a huge impact on your energy. But we're not going to stand up all the time, and sometimes it's not possible. Let me finish by talking about how to sit properly in front of the camera. So I've lowered my desk. I have one of these standing desks that goes up and down with the press of a button. And now I'm sitting down. So I'm sitting down. I think you can see my seat. It's black. It's difficult to see in this light. How to sit when you're presenting or having your meetings online. So the most important thing about sitting is that is to not let the seat support you. Now, what do I mean by that? So right now I'm sitting and my back is touching against the back of the chair, but the back of the chair is not supporting my back, right? If I let the back of the chair support my back, this is what would happen to my body language. I'm suddenly, as you can see, I've sunk back in. My shoulders have come forward a little bit. I'm not so energetic. My voice even maybe has changed a little bit. And so this doesn't look very dynamic or energetic. So I want to be sitting. Now, it's a small difference, but it's going to have a big effect also on your voice, on your energy as time goes by during your presentation or your meeting. So you want to sit up, you're sitting on the chair, but the back of the chair is not supporting my back. So if someone somehow pulled off the back of the chair, I wouldn't fall off backwards. I'm sitting upright in the chair. The next thing is, you can't see, but my feet are flat on the floor, so I'm grounded. My feet are not up on the base of the chair. I'm not on my toes. I'm not in a running position, which is that position where people have the legs folded back under the chair, getting ready to, as if they're going to, on the sprinter's blocks, ready to run away. No, my feet are flat on the floor. The reason why it's important to have your feet, or one at least, if not two, flat and connected to the floor, is it's going to help your voice come out stronger. And then finally, I'm sitting at my desk, but my hands are not under the desk. They're not resting on my legs, which are under the desk. My hands are above the desk, on the desk, and that way they're ready to move. They're free to move up without thinking too much about it. I don't plan my gestures, but my hands are in a starting position above the desk to come into shot as I'm speaking. Because remember, hands are really, really important for communication.